Imagine standing on a London street in 1814, and suddenly you hear a loud crash. Then a wave of beer comes rushing toward you. It sounds like the start of a wild party, but this was a deadly disaster. Welcome to the Great Beer Flood of 1814, one of history's strangest and most tragic accidents. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the working-class neighborhood of St. Giles was alive with chatter and the aroma of brewing hops. Little did the locals know that a catastrophic event was about to transform their streets into rivers of ale. The tale begins at the Moose & Coney Brewery, a behemoth of a building nestled in the heart of London. Here, enormous wooden vats housed thousands of barrels of beer, each one brimming with liquid gold. Among them stood the giant vat, a towering structure that could hold over 1.4 million liters. But this impressive feat of engineering was a ticking time bomb, ready to unleash chaos. On October 17, 1814, the unthinkable happened. A massive iron hoop that supported one of the vats gave way, leading to a catastrophic burst. It was as if a giant had kicked open a door, sending beer gushing forth like a raging river. What began as a day like any other quickly spiraled into madness as the pressure from the bursting vat triggered a chain reaction, demolishing other barrels in its wake. In mere moments, the streets of London would be transformed forever. As the wave of beer surged through the streets, it unleashed devastation unlike anything seen before. Imagine the narrow alleys of St. Giles, where fragile homes stood shoulder to shoulder, suddenly engulfed by a tide of ale. The flood raged on, claiming everything in its path. People scrambled to save themselves as the beer flowed like a tsunami, sweeping away furniture, possessions, and tragically, lives. 8 people lost their lives that day. Some were swept away, drowning in the very liquid that was once a source of joy. Others were crushed beneath collapsing buildings, their fates sealed by the sudden surge. In the midst of this chaos, the bizarre unfolded. Locals, driven by desperation and the lure of free-flowing beer, rushed into the streets, scooping up the precious liquid as it gushed by. It was a grim sight. While some were dying, others were treating the disaster as an unexpected festival. The aftermath of the flood revealed the true extent of the chaos. Families were left homeless, their lives upended in a matter of moments. In the once bustling St. Giles neighborhood, despair replaced the laughter that had filled the streets just hours before. Those who survived the disaster faced a harsh reality. The loss of loved ones and the destruction of homes created a somber atmosphere, overshadowing the oddity of the event itself. The flood had not just washed away beer. It had swept away lives and livelihoods, leaving a mark on the community that would last for generations. As stories of heroism and tragedy emerged from the debris, the impact of that fateful day began to ripple through London, raising questions about safety and responsibility in the burgeoning industrial age. The sheer scale of destruction prompted immediate investigation. The Moose & Coney Brewery found itself at the center of a media storm, facing scrutiny from the public and authorities alike. How could such a catastrophic failure occur? As news of the flood spread, the community demanded answers. The once respected brewery was now viewed with suspicion and fear. The cost of the disaster was staggering, not only in human lives but in economic impact. Businesses were ruined and livelihoods destroyed, all due to a single moment of negligence. This was not just a local disaster. It echoed across London, serving as a reminder of the risks inherent in industrial operations and the dire need for oversight. An inquiry was launched to determine the cause of the flood and who, if anyone, was responsible. Shockingly, the brewery was absolved of blame. The court ruled the incident as an act of God. This ruling ignited public outrage. How could a disaster of this magnitude be dismissed so easily? The people of London were furious, feeling that accountability had been swept away along with the beer. The lack of safety regulations in the brewing industry was glaringly obvious, leading to demands for change. The community's frustration highlighted a crucial point. In the pursuit of industrial progress, safety had been left by the wayside, and it was the people who paid the price. In the wake of the disaster, public outrage boiled over. Residents of St. Giles took to the streets, demanding accountability and better safety regulations. Their voices echoed through London, calling for change to prevent another tragedy. The community rallied together, united by grief and anger. Local leaders and activists began to question the status quo, emphasizing the need for oversight in industrial practices. Their relentless pursuit of justice transformed into a movement for change as citizens demanded safer working conditions and stricter regulations in brewing and other industries. This collective outcry would ultimately lead to significant reforms, as the people of London refused to let the flood be forgotten, turning tragedy into a catalyst for progress. The Great Beer Flood was a wake-up call for the brewing industry. In its aftermath, new regulations were put into place, ushering in a new era of safety standards. No longer would safety be an afterthought. It became a priority in industrial operations. Over time, these regulations led to substantial changes in the brewing process, emphasizing quality control and proper maintenance of equipment. The catastrophic flood had sparked a revolution in how breweries operated, ensuring that such a disaster would never happen again. While the flood itself was a bizarre and tragic event, it ultimately played a role in improving industrial safety for future generations, a legacy that would shape the brewing industry for years to come. The ripple effect of the beer flood extended far beyond London. Other industries took notice, understanding that negligence could lead to devastating consequences. Stricter safety standards became the norm across various sectors, not just brewing. As a result, companies began investing in safety training and equipment upgrades, recognizing that prevention was far more valuable than dealing with the aftermath of a disaster. The flood served as a powerful reminder that accountability and safety measures could save lives. In the years following the flood, the brewing industry became a model for other sectors, showcasing how lessons learned from tragedy could foster positive change and improvement. The legacy of the beer flood of 1814 is one of transformation. It became a cautionary tale, highlighting the potential dangers of industrial growth without proper oversight. Today, the brewing industry is governed by rigorous safety standards, ensuring that the mistakes of the past are never repeated. Modern breweries prioritize safety, investing in technology and training to protect their workers and the community. The flood not only reshaped the brewing industry, but also influenced broader industrial practices, reminding us that every disaster has the potential to ignite change. Reflecting on the beer flood of 1814, we see how a bizarre accident can serve as a powerful reminder. Today, as we navigate an increasingly industrialized world, the lessons learned from this tragedy remain relevant. It urges us to question the safety measures in place and consider the human cost of negligence. We must not forget that behind every statistic, there are lives affected by industrial accidents, and it's our responsibility to ensure that history doesn't repeat itself. The story of the beer flood continues to inspire discussions about safety regulations, accountability, and the importance of learning from the past. Let this tale remind us that the true cost of negligence can be devastating. In conclusion, the Great Beer Flood of 1814 stands as a unique yet poignant chapter in London's history. It teaches us about the importance of safety and accountability in our ever-evolving industrial landscape. As we raise a glass to remember the lives affected by this disaster, let's also commit to ensuring that such tragedies become relics of the past. Thank you for joining me on this journey through one of the most bizarre and tragic events in history. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.